Welcome to The Reins of Leadership, the podcast dedicated to helping you lead with presence and influence with trust. I'm your host, Merinda Smith, business leadership strategist, sharing actionable insights on mindset, EQ and energy uniquely illuminated by wisdom gained alongside my equine partners. Hey everyone, today we're going to explore how letting go of control can paradoxically lead to more connection and better outcomes, finding a sense of flow and purpose in our interactions with our horses and in the workplace. Specifically, it's been inspired by my recent jumping lesson where I just want to take you through what it's like to be riding a horse round a jumping course. So you've done all your homework, you've set your horse up, and now you're in the ring. You're approaching the obstacle, your eye is connected to the fence, you know the course, and you're coming up to it. Your horse is in this steady pace, and then in those final strides, instead of trusting the process and the horse underneath you, you start fiddling. You see that, the horse is too long or too short, so you fiddle a bit here with your leg and you check on the rein there, and you're giving these last minute adjustments that inevitably throws everything off. It's that moment where our anxiety about the unknown, about the imperfection of the flight, overrides the trust we've supposedly built. So, does anything in that sound familiar in your leadership? That is what I've just said is the equestrian equivalent of micromanaging your staff. And just like it can lead to a knocked rail or a refusal or an awkward, uncomfortable jump for your horse, micromanaging in the workplace can stifle creativity, kill morale, erode trust, and eventually hinder performance. It's a breakdown in the unspoken contract, a disruption of the relational dance where one partner starts to overfunction, leaving the other feeling disempowered or resentful. It's not a good space, and yet we do it so often. And this really hit home on the weekend when I was having a wonderful jumping lesson with my jumping coach, Felicity, and she started with a simple grid of poles on the ground. And I was wondering what she was doing. So first of all, she asked me to go over them in walk, then trot, then canter. And as we went over them, she was watching not how we cleared them, yet how I rode them. She wanted to see if I was setting up the approach and then allowing my pony to do his job, using my legs for subtle guidance and my seat for balance rather than interfering with him and where he was going. She was looking for that mindful connection, that state of being present and responsive rather than reactive and controlling. And luckily, she was pleased with how we went. It showed a partnership where both I and King had our roles and there was space for him to express his competence. He made short strides when he needed to. He extended his stride when he needed to. And it was really, I wasn't controlling him. I was letting him do his job. And that's what needs to happen in the workplace. Why there's a breakdown when micromanagement happens. Let's start off looking at the horse and how it appears in the jumping arena. Simply put, the rider doesn't trust their horse. They're constantly interfering with almost every step the horse takes, tugging the reins, nudging with their legs, pushing them on forward, chasing them over the fence, or pulling them back. They don't believe the horse can figure things out on its own, like where it needs to put its feet or how far away an obstacle is or how to balance itself. The rider acts as if they need to physically place each hoof. This behaviour comes from a deep-seated need to eliminate any chance of things going wrong. But that level of control is an illusion, especially in an activity such as riding. So instead of allowing the horse to think and react, the rider attempts to dictate every single micro movement, interferes with the horse's natural balance, their impulsion and their bascule, the arc when they're jumping the jump. The wisdom of the horse to self-correct, to navigate, all of that is being stifled. So we forget that they have their own intelligence. And when the rider sees the different lengths, the long spot or the short spot, and chases or pulls back, This is the mind caught in a spiral of what ifs, projecting fear into the situation instead of staying present and resourceful. So what happens to the horse? The horse becomes confused and anxious. It's caught in that double bind, receiving mixed messages that undermine its sense of security and competence in the partnership. The agency of the horse is eroded. The desire to try to offer diminishes when every offer is met with correction or overridden. And it can really lead to some physical issues in the horses and poor performance, so knocking rails and refusing, because it doesn't know it's expecting the rider to be there for it and ride every stride. Now let's move out of the jumping arena and head back to the workplace. And you'll see that the parallels are striking. What we're looking for is a good leader who, much like that effective rider that Felicity was looking for, sets the overall direction, provides the necessary resources and support, and then trusts their team to use their skills and expertise to execute, just like in the horse world. So this leader creates an environment of psychological safety where the team members feel empowered to bring their whole selves to their work. Yet so often leaders do things unconsciously, and so I want to break down how these behaviours may sound familiar to you in your management style. So the first one is, are you constantly checking in and prescribing how-tos? Do you find yourself hovering over the shoulders of people, demanding constant updates, questioning every minor decision, and dictating the exact method for tasks, even when your employee is highly capable and has a proven track record? Let me tell you, this isn't support you're offering. It's surveillance. It implicitly communicates to everyone that I don't trust you when I'm not looking at you, which is deeply corrosive to any professional relationship you're trying to build. The next one is, do you jump in to fix things before your employee has a chance to learn or problem solve? Or do you redo work that was perfectly adequate, even good, simply because it wasn't done your precise way? I know I've had a leader who did this to me, and it was so demoralizing. And when you do this, you rob the individual of vital learning experiences. I received no learning experiences from what she was trying to do. I just felt constantly she needed it done her specific way. She'd outsource it to her staff. We would do what we thought was right, and all of us leaders in our own right, and yet we would send it to our manager, and that manager would then it was like getting the red pen across it and just, no, change this, change that. She may as well have done it herself in the first place. So it really erodes the individual, and they're not learning anything, they're not building any resilience, and they are not being satisfied of any accomplishment, because you just feel like it's a waste of your time doing the work, presenting it forward. The next area is, do you get bogged down in the minutiae, losing sight of the bigger picture and your strategic goals? And again, I've had this where every email needs to be CC'd to you, every comma scrutinised by you, and it's a real hyper focus on the small stuff, which I now understand is a defence mechanism. Really is truly, it's your way of saying, I need to manage my own anxiety. The only thing I can control are these little things that are controllable, but I can't handle the bigger picture. So when this happens, when you are doing either any one of those things, not pointing any fingers, I just know I've experienced working under managers or leaders who are like that. The result for your team is your employees feel untrusted, undervalued, and disrespected. Their expertise and autonomy are certainly being undermined by your actions. Every unnecessary intervention you make becomes a withdrawal from the relational bank account. And in turn, that's going to deplete the goodwill and respect for you. Why would your team members bother thinking outside the box, suggesting improvements or taking ownership, if you're just going to tell them exactly how to do it anyway, or change it to fit your preference? Innovation dies under this watch. The unique spark, the potential for innovative solutions that, people bring to your team is going to be dimmed by this approach. And creativity needs oxygen, and your micromanagement suffocates it. Constantly being second-guessed, monitored and corrected by you is mentally exhausting and deeply demoralizing. Your employees check out. They don't want to know. And in fact, yesterday I was having a chat to someone in a workplace, and they were telling me about a situation that occurs time and time again. And I asked why they're not bringing it up and making changes, and what would it take for them to do that. And she replied to me that it was ingrained in the culture, that it is done this way. You just do not make any changes. And it was mentally exhausting and demoralizing for her. And what actually happens is your team becomes less productive, quality can suffer because, people are being afraid to make decisions under your scrutiny. Deadlines might be missed due to the bottlenecks that you create, and your best talent will eventually leave, as I did a couple of those situations. So the common thread in micromanaging, it always stems from the same root causes, and that is lack of trust and fear of losing control. So it's when you are so afraid of a mistake that you try to control every conceivable variable. This fear often arises from your over-attachment to a specific outcome, rather than you embracing the process and the learning within it. Do you genuinely not trust your employees' skills, judgment or commitment? Or perhaps it's a projection. You don't trust yourself to handle imperfection or setbacks. So that makes you not extend that trust to others. Do you have an unhealthy need for things to be done exactly your way, mistaking your preferred method for the only correct method? Sometimes it's about your own insecurities, about your ability, your authority, or your value. Controlling others can momentarily make you feel more secure, more indispensable. And this need for control can be a compensation for a fragile sense of self, where your identity is fused with the performance of others. It also could stem from bad experiences. And I know for my writing, it comes from a nasty fall. And in the workplace, it could be, a major project failure that's happened to you. And therefore, it's led you to overcorrect in the future. And it's sort of like a trauma response that now dictates your interactions. So I'd like to help you to empower your teams and encourage you to form new habits of your mind and heart, practicing mindful awareness intentionally. So the first is to set clear expectations, define success, and then step back. So just like in the riding, set your expectations. You know what success is, and that's clearing the jump. And then it's about guiding the horse just by sitting there and gently keeping your legs around it. So in the workplace, it means setting clear goals, defining roles of each employee, providing the necessary resources and training, establishing clear metrics for success, and then empowering your team to find the best path to choose those goals. You don't need to watch every step they take. The clarity you provide is an act of kindness. True empowerment involves you creating that space for the other to inhabit their role fully. And it's that dance between connection and autonomy. The next point is focus on the what, the outcome, not just the how, which is the process. Does your employee meet the project objective on time and to the standard that you require? If the outcome is yes, then your precise method doesn't matter. Allow for different styles and approaches. There's an energy and aliveness that comes from mastery, from allowing someone to bring their unique signature to a task. Your dictating the how often stifles this spark. Build trust through practice and incremental delegation. With a horse, you start with the poles in the ground and then small crossrails, building confidence, yours and theirs. And that's what I'm doing with my pony King at the moment. We're starting small. With your team, you delegate small. Give them lower risk tasks first. Provide support and guidance when asked or at pre-agreed check-in points, not constantly interrupting them. Remember to celebrate successes just as you pat your pony. Celebrate with your team. It will build their confidence and your trust in them. Like any practice, it is about starting small, observing your own internal reactions as you let go, and gradually expand that zone of trust. Each successful delegation strengthens your trust muscle. Now, if mistakes happen, then embrace them. They're learning opportunities for you, for your team, and if you're riding a horse, for your horse as well. An employee might make a minor error. These aren't disasters, they're data points. For a rider, it's that chance to analyse what happened, how did I approach it, and what can I take away, and how can I help him best going forward. So it's again, for you as a manager, it's that coaching moment, not a gotcha moment. Ask them, be curious, ask what can we learn from this, rather than why did you do that the wrong way. The real element here is we're wanting to meet the mistake, and not with blame, but with curiosity and a commitment to learn and adapt. This is where that relational resilience is forged under your leadership. It all comes back to your own self-awareness, and it's being true to yourself. If you ask yourself regularly, am I interfering because it's truly necessary for the employee's success or safety, or because I'm feeling anxious? And this really takes ownership for you to admit to yourself that maybe you are feeling anxious, you need to be in control, or think that you know best. Be honest with yourself. This is where mindfulness is key. If you create pauses in your day, ask yourself, is this impulse rooted in wisdom and service, or in fear and ego? Turn your gaze inward. What's my narrative here? Am I replaying an old pattern? Is this about their competence or my own comfort zone and need for certainty? And of course, provide the right tools and training. Just like in horses, you start giving them that proper conditioning and schooling. Your employees need that training, those resources and support to do their jobs effectively. Don't set them up to fail and then blame them for not meeting your unspoken expectations. This is about you creating an equitable system, you setting the stage for success. If you haven't adequately equipped them, your judgment is often a deflection of your own responsibility. The magic in both riding and leadership happens when you find that delicate balance. You providing clear guidance and an unwavering support, and also creating that independence where that learning and critical thinking and genuine trust happens. It's not a static point of balance. It's a continuous, responsive dance between connection and autonomy, structure and freedom. And it's really important that you understand that it is a continuous spectrum. You're not all one end or just rigidly in the middle. You're moving up and down that line. An employee who feels trusted, respected and empowered by you becomes more engaged, productive and loyal, and it is fantastic for your business. So next time you're tempted to shorten those reins just a little too much in the last few strides, or hover over an employee's desk to check their move, take a breath. Make that breath a moment of mindfulness, a conscious pause. Remember the bigger picture. In that pause, choose to create connection over control, to nurture the relationships rather than manage the task to death. Trust your partner, whether human or equine, and focus on creating an environment where they truly shine. Leaders, what are your experiences with micromanaging? Have you been micromanaged, or are you working on letting go of the reins yourself? Remember, this is an ongoing practice for you, this beautiful, challenging art of creating that trust. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a comment here. Until next time, ride well, lead well, and trust the process. May your journey in leadership be influenced by the equines and bring you growth, wisdom, and joy to you and those you influence. Thanks for joining me on the Reins of Leadership. Remember to lead with presence and influence with trust. Subscribe for more insights and find resources at merindasmith.podia.com.